Okay, so let's talk about some of the basics here of what you'll be doing this semester, particularly in Illustrator or in this lab. What we have here is the embedded image of the quad or the mall, and what you're going to be doing is tracing, basically. You're going to be drawing a map the good old-fashioned way. Now, of course, you won't be doing this for most maps in Illustrator. However, this is a great way to learn the tools of Adobe Illustrator, and also oftentimes it's a heck of a lot easier to just bring in an image and draw your own map from it than to hunt down the GIS data, generalize the data appropriately, etc., etc. So this is actually a great skill to have, particularly if you're making a map to show people how to get to a party or whatever. Alright, so there are a bunch of tools, and I'm not going to go through the lab bit by bit, but some of the tools you'll have to master, and I highly recommend looking at other tutorials that are online, including lynda.com or lynda.jmu.edu if you're on the James Madison campus, on how to use these tools. But the main tool you're going to need is the pen tool, and here it is. And we're also going to show you the type tool here briefly. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is make layers. Layers are great for organizing your data, just like in a GIS. Here, nothing's georeferenced, but it's the same idea. You want different types of information on different layers. So I'm going to make a layer and call this sidewalks. So now that we have this layer highlighted, I have the pen tool, and let's just draw a sidewalk here. So we can click in the middle of this square and drag down here and click there, and then I will deselect it by clicking on the arrow. So what we have now is a highlighted path, but if I click off of it, nothing shows up. This will be the first frightening thing that happens to you in Illustrator. You'll draw something and it doesn't appear, and the urge is to panic. Don't do that. If we slow down and we look here, I'll select it again, so it's there, but it's not showing up. Let's look up here at the color palettes. The one on the left means the fill color, and the one on the right means the stroke color. Every object you draw in Adobe Illustrator will have a fill and a stroke color. Of course, we drew a straight line, so any fill that would be inside of a straight line will be covered up by the line itself. There won't be any fill. We only have a stroke color that we need. So what I'm going to do is drop this down and click on black, and since it's a sidewalk, we don't want a fill color. So I'm going to select this little red bar here, which means no color. Alright, now if I click off, we have a black line. This isn't quite thick enough, so what I'm going to do is select this again, and here's the stroke width, or weight, and I'm going to up it a little. Whammo, we've got one sidewalk. Alright, I'll do another one here for you. Our sidewalk layer is going to be beneath our building layer, so I can kind of go under the entrance here of buildings. Voila. Another thing you can do if you have the pen tool, and you're going to find that keyboard shortcuts are really useful, is when you're done, hit escape, and it basically allows you to deselect it. Okay, that's very basic, but all we're doing is drawing straight lines. How would you do something ornate like this curve down here, or a cloverleaf highway? This is where something called Bezier curves come in very handy. And I'm going to start up here so you can see it better. What Bezier curves are, with the pen tool, what you can do is click and drag and create natural looking curves in what you're drawing. So this will take some practice, but you'll get the hang of it. But let's say that I want to, I'll do the street right now, even though this is the sidewalks layer. I can click, and before I let go of the mouse button, I can drag it slightly, and see these things that pop out? They're called handles, and I can change their angle. And then when I click the next one, if I don't let go of the mouse button, I can drag, and it'll start to make a curve. And I can click over here and drag, over here, drag, and let go. Over here, and over here, and over here. Now, just like that, I could draw some naturally curved streets. Of course, I kind of screwed up. See how here there is a bit of a problem? Not to fear. What we can do is use the selection tool to select the line, and then this other arrow called the direct selection tool, letter A on your keyboard, will allow you to select individual nodes or points on the line. So I'm going to click on this one and see how those handles pop up again. You can also click and drag the handles of points to make the curves, to change the curves. So I'll click on the node. Once you click on the node, you can select its handle, and just like that you can move lines around. Alright, so let's try to do some groovy curvy ones. Ta-da! And you're golden. Don't be afraid to use Z to zoom in. If you hit the letter Z on the keyboard, you can click and drag around a place, or you can hold down the Alt key and zoom out or in. I just zoomed in, and now if you hold down the Alt key, Option on a Mac, and use the scroll wheel, you can zoom in and out. Another great shortcut that you should know is the spacebar. No matter what tool you are using, if you hit and hold the spacebar, it turns to a hand, and you can move the entire artboard around. As soon as you let go of the spacebar, it goes back to the tool you were using. Two shortcuts that you should know about. V for selection tool, and P for pen tool. This will save you a lot of time from going back to the dialog up here if you just hit the letter V and P back and forth. Alright, I promised you I'd also show you the type tool. The type tool is similar. I'm going to make a new layer here and call it typography, or maybe just labels. Don't have to be too fancy. I'll lock the sidewalks layer. So you select the layer you want to work in, and as soon as you select the type tool, you'll see that the menu up here changes a bit. Sometimes you'll be able to see character information and paragraph information, but if you can't, you can always click on these orange characters up here and see what font is available, is being used, the font size, the spacing, etc. I am a fan of, it's starting to fade on me, but I've always been a fan of Corbel, so I will choose Corbel font, and I will use, because this is so big, I'll use size 24 just so you can see it. And so what you do is, just like anywhere else, there are two types of text boxes. You can click and start typing. And then by hitting escape, you get a text box like this that you can move around with the arrow key. Or, T is for type, of course, so that's the shortcut for typing. You can click and drag a text box. Now, what's the difference? Here's the difference. Whoops. See how it actually wraps the text within a text box? So if you were adding a text box to your map or a supplemental text box, you'd want to click and drag with the text tool to limit the size of the text. If you don't do that, what ends up happening is it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on until you hit return. Now, a couple other tricks with the text tool. Let's see here. You can, once you've deselected it, you can do a variety of things. You can make it bigger. You can turn it upside down. Of course, these aren't necessarily better things. You can also, if you move your cursor around any object in Illustrator and you get that as curvy symbols, then you can rotate text just like that. One thing I want to mention is a real shortcut that's really useful is holding down the Shift key while you click and drag things or rotate them or make them bigger. If you hold down the Shift keys, which I'm doing right now, and click and drag, it will keep it proportionate to its original size, so nothing will get distorted. If you hold down the Shift key while rotating an object, it will rotate in 45-degree increments, which can be very useful so you don't have to eyeball these things. One more quick thing with the pen tool and then I'll let you go. The pen tool can also be used to digitize polygons, not just lines, of course. So let's draw a building here. I'm going to hit P to get the pen tool to pop up. And what we can do is click. When you're doing geometric straight edge objects, it's often better not to do Bezier curves because Bezier curves are mostly good for natural features or curvy, groovy things. My friend used to draw the Honey Nut Cheerio bee for General Mills. That had a lot of pen tool, Bezier curve stuff going there. Alright, so just like that, notice that this has a fill color but no outline. We could change the outline color to red. We could thicken the outline stroke weight to 15 if we really wanted to. We can also change the opacity of the object here to... So this is how you use the pen tool. It will get easier. It's not always going to be as difficult as it is at first for you. And if you have any questions, check out some tutorials online about using the pen tool. It does get easier. Don't give up on it.